All right, well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another great Lunch and Learn with the Purchasing Division. My name is Alexa Francis House. I'm an administrative officer in the Purchasing Division, and we're very excited to have today's speaker, Bob Melton, County Auditor, and he will be speaking with us about what it is that the Office of the County Auditor does. Just to give you a little background about Bob, Bob Melton joined Broward County in June of 2017 after selection by the Charter Established Auditor Selection Committee and subsequent ratification by the Board of County Commissioners. He has over 35 years of experience in state and local government auditing and investigations. He has extensive experience in performing and directing financial, compliance, and performance audits. And these audits cover all facets of local and state government operations. Bob came to Broward County from Lake County, Florida, where he served as Inspector General and Audit Director. And as Inspector General and Audit Director, his responsibilities included the establishment and execution of a comprehensive audit program of all operations under the Board of County Commissioners and other organizations receiving county funds. Bob has a Master's of Public Administration from the University of Missouri and a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration from Southeast Missouri State University. And then previously, Bob served as Director of County Audit in Orange County, Florida, and served as Director of Audits for the Missouri State Auditor and held previous positions within that agency. So Bob has quite a bit of experience, extensive experience in auditing, and we're very excited to have you here. You can see Bob over there in your top corner. He will be speaking with us today. Go ahead and wave, Bob. And without further ado, I will turn it over to Bob. In the chat, I've mentioned that Bob will be taking the questions towards the end. So if you have any burning questions, if you're listening to something and it brings up a question that you may have, feel free to type it in the chat, and then we'll go through all the questions in the chat and address them at that time. So without further ado, Bob Melton.
Thank you, Alexa, for that introduction. You know, when sometimes people hear all the places I've worked, they tend to either think one of two things. One is, wow, he's got a wide variety of experience, or that guy can't keep a job. So I'm not sure which you're thinking, but actually, in my line of work, it's very beneficial to have been exposed to many different governments and different ways of doing things.
Let me see.
And I think we're getting some talking coming through. If everyone could mute themselves, that would help. So thank you for tuning in today to learn more about the County Auditor's Office. And sometimes we have different perspective of auditors, but you know, we all in county government eventually hear those words, the auditors are coming. So I'm not sure what conjures up in your mind when you hear those words. You know, you maybe start thinking of IRS agents coming in, or you may visualize somebody with green eye shades and calculators and printing tape running out on the floor from adding up numbers. But in reality, we're just county employees, just like you. We're coming in every day trying to do the best job that we can do. We all have families. We all have life struggles. We're just in this life, we're all just a team of fellow strugglers trying to get through the best that we can, do the best job that we can. And so that's what we try to do on a daily basis. So today, what I want to do is talk with you about what we do in the auditor's office, and probably tell you everything you ever wanted to know, or maybe you didn't want to know about the auditor's office. But hopefully when we're through, you'll have a really good overview in talking about our role and what we can do and how we can help you. Because, you know, contrary to some other types of auditors, we are here to help. We're here to help the residents and taxpayers. We're here to help the Board of County Commissioners. We're here to help county administration, and we're here to help the employees. And so I hope when we get through today that you'll really realize what we do. To first start off, and Alexa kind of alluded to it in the introduction, is we are created through the county charter. Now, for those of you that may not know, the county charter is kind of like the Constitution on the federal level. It is the governing document for the specifics of Broward County operations and subject, of course, to state statutes and so forth. But the charter establishes the structure of Broward County government. And so the charter does establish the county auditor's office, and it says that we'll conduct financial compliance, economy efficiency, performance audits of county government, and we'll submit written reports. And one of the things that I like to mention is that the charter provides that we have free and unrestricted access to county government officials, records and reports, and people. And so basically that gives us the authority to talk to any employee of the county as we deem necessary in order to fulfill our duties. And so we do that on our audits. We interview people, and also in investigations, we talk with people. So we do have free and unrestricted access to do that. The one of the basic premises of our office, and it's very, very important, is that we be independent. You know, as the independent auditor, people rely on us to provide insight into county operations, and to have that insight not be influenced by some agenda that somebody might have, either a political agenda or a management agenda, or any types of conflicts. And so there's some safeguards that are set up in the charter in order to preclude that. And one of them is that my position is actually selected by an independent board. And the independent board is made up of community leaders and professionals that are out there in the community. They interview candidates and they select a candidate, and then the Board of County Commissioners ratifies that person to fill that position. So it's very different, really, than any other position in the county. And then not only that, but my position has a 5-year term as well. And all of that is intended to provide independence so that we're free to review whatever we want to review, and to say whatever needs to be said, to release findings that are true, objective, and complete. The charter also outlines our duties and talks about that we're to do audit functions. We have the authority to review business practices, procedures, and controls, and we can review basically any matter that comes to the county. And one interesting thing is that many people don't realize is that we have the authority to pull an item from the agenda of the Board of County Commissioners for a cooling off period, which, and we can do that for up to 30 days. That would give us some additional time for analysis or whatever we might need to do in order to provide full and complete information to the board. And we're really basically also to serve as a resource, an independent, objective resource for county government. And as I've said, independence is crucial. Objectivity is also crucial. It's very important for our staff, and we do have a great team of professionals to do what we need to do. And it's very important that we always are free of any potential conflict of interest. And just as a point of information, each staff person has to um, fill out annually a form that outlines any potential conflicts they might have in any department. And then also, when they begin an individual audit, they have to also sign a form stating that they have no conflicts or disclose any potential conflict. So we do everything possible to make sure that we are independent and objective in everything that we do. So who do we help? At the top of our list, and actually we refer to them as our clients, and our clients are the residents and taxpayers of Broward County. We are here first and foremost to serve the public interest, and through that, we preserve the public trust. The residents and taxpayers deserve to know what's going on in their government, and it's part of our role to tell them. We look at the efficient and effective use of tax dollars. It's also our role to investigate instances of potential fraud, waste, and abuse, and to improve government wherever we possibly can. As far as the Board of County Commissioners, one of our roles is to serve as their independent eyes and ears into county government operations. And so we provide them with the independent and objective reports that really get down into the trenches of the departments and operations. And we also, and I'll probably touch base on it later also, but we review agenda items that are coming before them, and we do our best to make sure that those agenda items have full and complete and accurate information that they can use as a basis to make their decisions. And as far as county administration, it's to some extent the same thing. The county management folks don't really get down into the trenches many times, know exactly how things are operating, and we can tell them and give ideas as to how to make improvement through our reports. And many times our reports are actually a blueprint for change to help make operations better. And if you stop and think about it, you're thinking, well, how do you help me? And I think the answer to that is we help you do your job better, because our goal is to improve county operations, is to make government operate the best that it can possibly operate. And we know that's what you want. You want to do your job, the best that you can, and you want to make a difference the best that you can in your specific role, and we can help you do that through our audits. We really hope that as we are there talking with you all and doing our audit work, that this can be a collaborative effort, that we can work together to make things better. Because when it comes down to it, nobody knows more than you all that are actually doing the work how things could be done differently and better. So we solicit that cooperative relationship to work together hand in hand to be able to do that. One of the things that we're hoping to do more of on a proactive basis is to provide more training to county employees, specifically in the area of fraud awareness, which I'll talk a little more about, internal controls, how to maintain proper controls. And it's very important to recognize that controls are crucial. And many times whenever departments will try to streamline operations to make them more efficient, it can become very easy to streamline out all of the controls. And so one of the things that we want to do is educate county employees as to the types of controls that should always be in place. We're also a designated whistleblower agency, in that we can receive whistleblower complaints. And during the course of the investigations and afterwards even, the complainant, the person making the complaint, is protected from retaliation by county management. as far as direct audit services, I know everybody does not know a lot about audits, but there are different types of audits that we do. And first and foremost is performance audits. And I talk a lot about making government better. And when we do that, it's largely through performance audits. We're looking at, when we do a performance audit, at the efficiency of operations, the effectiveness of operations. It could be the effectiveness of a program. For example, is that program really accomplishing what it was intended to accomplish? Those types of things. Compliance audits are audits that look at whether uh, laws or regulations or policies are being complied with in operations. Information technology audits, we look at controls over the IT function. We look at protections against all the scams and frauds that are out there, and we make recommendations for improvement. Some of you may not know that we do vendor audits. That's audits of contractors with the county. And when we do that, we're looking largely for compliance with the county contracts. For example, is the vendor doing what it's supposed to be doing? Are the costs what the vendor represents the cost to be? Are they delivering what they're supposed to deliver? Those types of audits. Follow-up reviews, we make recommendations for improvement. That's really our end product when it comes to audits, our recommendations to make things better. But then our policy is 6 months to a year after we issue one of those reports, we follow up and we determine whether management did indeed implement our recommendations or if they have not. And those follow-up reviews typically do also go to the Board of County Commissioners. So how do we improve county operations? One is direct cost savings. Uh, Wherever we can quantify cost savings in our reports, we do so. We do recommend recovery of overbillings. We'll quantify those overbillings. We review revenue to determine if the county is receiving all the revenue from various sources that it should be receiving revenue from. And when we can, we'll quantify the amount of additional revenue that could be collected. But most of our findings don't have a number attached to them. We don't actually know in some cases how much cost savings will occur, but we do know there will be some. So there's an indirect cost savings that we can't quantify from our reports, but I would be willing to bet it's a lot more than our quantified cost savings. We also attempt, to establish controls that will deter fraud, waste, and abuse, and also detect it, and also to avoid overpaying for goods and services. Okay, so what if my section is audited? So what do you do if you find out that we're coming to audit and that we may very well be talking to you? Well, again, we are not the IRS. If somebody gives you advice saying only answer the question that you're asked and don't volunteer anything, that is terrible advice. If people do that, it means that we're going to be there in your section a lot longer, trying to figure out exactly what the operations are. So, the best approach is to be open, honest, and forthright, and to have that collaborative effort I talked about, to have open conversations with us. After all, you are the subject matter experts. You know the job that you're doing, the procedures and processes a lot better than we do. So if we just have open dialogue with you, um, about that, it will help us get things done a lot faster and to be a lot more effective in what we're recommending. If you have ideas, as to how things could be done better, I certainly always encourage you to share those with us and, to collaboratively work out a better solution. It might result in change, or our reports frequently do result in change. In fact, I sometimes refer to us as change agents, and change isn't always easy. It's just human nature we like to do things the way we've always done them, but sometimes there's a better way. And then once we get used to the better way, then things are a lot better for all of us, including for the taxpayers and residents. And as I've said, we focus on improving operations and making opportunities for improvement. We also do a lot of non-audit activities. One of those are attendance at board meetings and budget hearings. I attend virtually all of those. As I've said, we review all agenda items that go before the board to make sure they have full, complete, and accurate information. And we also, in that process, we use they call it the PBMI system, where it's a system whereby board members can ask questions to the staff and then they get answers. It's all in writing and goes to everybody. We can also ask questions in that system, and we sometimes do. And then the questions and the answers are seen by the members of the Board of County Commissioners. We issue a lot of advisory memos to advise on different things. No, we do a lot with procurement that I'm going to talk about next, so I won't prolong that. Consultations, we do a lot of that. I certainly encourage any supervisors or department heads that are thinking about implementing a new policy or procedure, just give us a call or set up a meeting and just talk to us about those. We'll gladly provide you input as to any improvements or changes that we might see that we think might be needed. And that way, we can get things better on the front end without having to wait for an audit. So I would certainly encourage any of you to do that. And then also fraud is a major thing that we're always concerned with in every audit and whistleblower situations. I'll talk a little more about that as well. Procurement assistance, and most of you probably do not know this, we perform reviews of virtually all RFPs uh, before they are issued. And while they're still in draft form, and then we'll issue a memo with suggestions that we find. But one of the things that in every procurement thing we do, we tried our best to make sure that the result will be fair and open competition. That is a basic tenet of public procurement. And by having fair and open competition, that's the best way to help ensure that we procure the best good or service at the best price. So in order to achieve good competition, we look at the scope, we look at the requirements of the contractors. Sometimes that can be written to limit competition, either intentionally or unintentionally. So we try to make sure that those encourage competition. We look at evaluation criteria that's outlined in the RFP to try to make sure that it's fair to all the proposals and will result in the best proposal at a reasonable cost. And clarity, sometimes these documents can be very complicated and very confusing, so we try to make sure that they're clear and that can be easily understood by the proposers. So how we can help, um, we actually will assist with contract negotiations in some cases if we believe we need to be involved, or if we're requested to by department management. We will assist in those. We'll review payment terms or amounts. As I said, we're attempting to do more training, um, consultations. We're always happy to meet with county management staff to talk about their concerns or how to improve operations or implementation of new policies. These are all ways that we can truly make a difference in ways other than audits. And so we want to promote that however we can, because as I said over and over, we're here to improve government. So however we can do that within our established role, that's what we want to do. Uh, you know, a bunch of us are members of the ACFE. That's the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners, and that's a specialist organization. So I want to just touch base with you a little bit about that, because fraud awareness is very important for all county employees. And did you know that the ACFE has determined that statistically speaking, 5% of the revenues of organizations are lost to fraud every year? Now, that's a lot of money, especially for Broward County. And, for government, it's just probably just as bad, maybe worse. But there's a lot of money that's lost to fraud. I mean, one of mine that I've investigated in years past comes to mind, and it was another county in the state, and the loss that we found there was $1.5 million that this person took. And one of the misconceptions is that, well, those are career criminals. We don't have any of those in my department. They're all good people. I know them, but that many times people that commit fraud are some of the most trusted people in the department. And you see, during my experience, I've investigated a lot of frauds, and I've never investigated one that where that person was just a career criminal, where they took the job and they were there to steal money. Um, no, the ones that I've dealt with, without exception, were good people that were under a lot of pressure and they just made bad decisions. This one person that I talked about with $1.5 million fraud, I would say she was a good person. She was a CPA. She was a controller. But guess what? She had a gambling addiction. And that gambling addiction just consumed her, and she did things that she would not have otherwise done. And other times it's been a matter of putting food on the table, or a family member has severe medical expenses where money's needed, and they just can't afford the treatment. They made bad decisions. And so the reality is that any of us can get into those high pressure situations where we might make a wrong decision. So I would encourage you to keep that in mind and not just, look for career criminals, because that's just not the way it works in government, at least. Um, there are many different things that people will do in order to commit fraud. Sometimes they'll create fraudulent documents. They'll alter physical documents. They'll alter computer files or delete computer files. Um, but you know what? One thing that I've consistently found uh, is that they're not typically, they can be, but they're not typically some big elaborate scheme where somebody's creating a bunch of phony companies and laundering money. No, it's usually very simple. Um, uh, and it could have easily been detected if people had been paying attention. And for example, the lady that committed the $1.5 million fraud, she made checks payable to herself. How hard would that have been to detect if somebody had been paying attention? And that's typically the way that it is that, and I know that in many cases, people starting out just needing a little bit of money. And so they'll just think in their own mind, oh, I'll just borrow this and I'll put it back. And guess what? They keep borrowing and borrowing. And pretty soon it's such a big number, they can't pay it back. And so people can get roped into these things. And so it's just very important that we have a system of controls. And in looking at the controls, there are preventive controls that we should have in place to keep um, fraud from happening in the first place. But then we need to have a set of controls. Well, if for some reason it gets by those preventive controls, that we get it detected timely. Because when people take money, the overwhelming trend is they start out small and it's not detected, so that gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So if it does happen, we need to all make sure that there's controls there to detect it. And so when we do our audits, we're looking for the preventive controls and the detective controls in the system. And, we don't look at people when we do audits, we look at the system and the controls in place. So, how we can help you. We're interested in any fraud, big or small. And that's not just by employees, by the way, it can be contractors or it can even be residents. The county has a lot of programs where we help people, and rightfully so, but fraud can be committed in order to receive county money. Contractors, we are always concerned about potential fraud in some form or another. So if something doesn't seem quite right and you think something could be going on that's inappropriate, we urge you to share your concerns, with your supervisor, but then also with us, managers and supervisors. Certainly, I would urge you to talk with us about potential situations before you confront uh, somebody about that, because sometimes things need to be done before that would occur. So uh, we're always here. We'll always listen. We'll always give you guidance however we can. So I just encourage you uh, to reach out to us anytime you think we might be able to help. We also, if as employees, if you have concerns about operations, you can feel free to directly contact our office. Um, as I said, we can receive whistleblower complaints. There's very specific legal criteria for what constitutes a whistleblower complaint. It can be violations of laws and so forth that result in gross mismanagement, waste of funds, or various things. If you're a whistleblower, your identity remains confidential during the course of the investigation, and you receive protection from retaliation. So we are here to help. We do receive complaints, um, and it doesn't have to be fraud. If you just got an idea as to how operations can be improved, I encourage you to talk with us about it. If it's something we deem to be urgent, we might review it immediately, or if it's something not so urgent but would be interesting to that we should take a look at, we would put it in a file for the next time we do an audit or review in that area. There's different ways to contact us. You can do it on our webpage. You can give us a call, email. We do have this generic email mailbox that you can see on the screen there. So feel free. As I said, we're just fellow county employees trying to do our best job. And I know that's what you all do as well. So with that, I'll just open it up for any questions that you may have.
All right, thank you, Bob. Excellent presentation. Before I go ahead and turn over to questions, and this will give you guys an opportunity to kind of type some more questions in the chat. I want to turn over to our Director of Purchasing, Bob Gleason. He had a few remarks. Bob?
Hey, good afternoon, good morning, good afternoon. I want to thank you, Bob, for presenting here. This is very useful information. I think our staff sincerely appreciates it. I was taking notes and very much appreciate your offer to help. We need all the help we can get here in purchasing, as you might know. We have a lot of stakeholders in the county, not only within the government, but also within our citizens and residents that rely on the contracts that we produce. And I've appreciated seeing your advisories on many of the RFPs that we've done. All they have done is help us to improve. And for that, I just want to thank you and commend your team for all the work and effort that they give to our team here. I would note too, I appreciate the focus on fraud. During several of the Lunch and Learn series, we've had not only the FBI, but we had I think her name is Carol with the IG's office, and they presented their take on fraud awareness, keeping ourselves on alert for fraud throughout the the procurement. And as you know, procurement is oftentimes a field where people field an opportunity. Thinking about the fraud triangle and so forth, we bake that into our processes so that we certainly, and I had my own personal opportunities to deal with that I have pitched over to your team, and I just recently saw your report on that. So thanks for that. I like the collaboration effort on our Lunch and Learn series. I presented on some of the initiatives that we've got going forward in the future here. You might remember I briefed to you and the rest of the board on around March 13th. And the most recent Lunch and Learn series, I went over all those things that I briefed. So there's going to be plenty of opportunity, I think, for you and your team to review the changes that we have coming up ahead of us. And I would invite, what they say in transparency, there's trust. So, being fully open and transparent, I think your terms were open, honest, and forthright, I wrote down. So to the extent that we develop our processes and our policies to be just that, I certainly will appreciate your future engagement in reviewing our processes to see how we can improve them. So I just wanted to say thank you. We have a blueprint for change. I heard you mention that. And so I would welcome you and your team to participate, collaborate, and provide input into how we can. I think my vision is that Broward County is going to be the best run county government in the country. And so we are on that path. And thank you so much for what you and your team do. So with that, thank you, Francis. And I'll turn it over to the rest of the attendees for their questions.
And thank you, Bob.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so right now I am seeing just one question in the chat, but maybe some of you guys are more comfortable coming off mute and asking a question, but I'll go ahead and read the question that I have here. So as human services, RFPs do not fall under purchasing. Do you review those RFPs as well?
We have reviewed some of those RFPs, yes, but that is an area that we need to look at to see if we should be reviewing all of those. Human services is an area that's different than many types of county operations. They need to have a lot of requirements, a lot of stipulations, a lot of oversight, and there are opportunities for fraud in there. So I think that is an area that we need to look into and probably beef up our reviews.
Okay, and Jillian mentioned they do in Palm Beach County. So they do review them.
Yes.
Okay. Does anyone else have any additional questions for Bob Melton, our county auditor, while he's here? Not seeing anyone else typing, but as Bob, so there are two Bobs on today. As Bob Bob Gleason has said, we really thank you so much for taking the time out to give a presentation today on what the county auditor does. And we really appreciate you giving us all of this great information. That presentation will be shared after this session, this Lunch and Learn session for you guys, because there are a lot of great resources that you may want to go back and look at. Thank you all for attending another great Lunch and Learn, and we look forward to seeing you in future sessions. Take care.
Yes, thank you all. And remember, we're here to help.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.